Hello, everyone. Good evening, and a warm welcome to all of you. While we wait for others to join in, there will be a poll. I request all of you to please answer the poll questions. And meanwhile, let me introduce myself. I'm Sheila Tyagraj, Director, Gen Next Education, based out of our Bangalore office. And joining me here and also extending a warm welcome to all of you are my colleagues from Canada, Mr. Ben from Canada office and Ms. Suman from our Bangalore office. I'm sure all of you are familiar with Gen Next Education, who we are and what we do. But for those of you who are new and would like to know a bit more about Gen Next Education, we are an organization committed to providing students with clear, reliable, and comprehensive information regarding their overseas education options. We also evince keen interest in internationalizing Indian and foreign institutions through mutually beneficial initiatives. So in short, we are a single window operation to facilitate global educational opportunities and partners with universities across the globe, collaborating with colleges across India and the Middle East and inspiring students to become future ready. So today on the webinar, we are featuring George Washington University, and on the panel, we have Ms. Brittany, Director of Graduate Admissions and Enrollment Management, and Ms. Catherine, Assistant Director, International Graduate Admissions, who will be presenting an overview of research and funding opportunities at GW and will enlighten you all on many insightful aspects. And joining them on the panel today are current students at GW, Mr. Somanath and Ms. Juhi, who will be sharing their valuable experiences as a student. So I extend a warm welcome to all of the panelists, and we're very happy to have all of you here with us. So before we get started, let me quickly go over a few housekeeping points. Keep your microphone muted at all times during the length of the webinar. Type out your questions, any questions that you may have in the Q&A box provided. That will enable us to look at your questions and answer them at the end of the session. So with that, and without any further delay, let's get started. Over to you, Brittany.
Okay, there we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. It's morning here on the East Coast, but I know it's the evening time over in India. We are excited to be with you today to present and share more information with you about the graduate engineering and computer science programs at the George Washington University. We'll also be speaking today about giving you a brief overview about research and funding opportunities for graduate students. So as Ms. Sheila mentioned already, my name is Brittany Wright. I am the Director of Graduate Enrollment Management and Advising at the School of Engineering and Applied Science. I'm here today with my colleague Kat, who is the Assistant Director of International Graduate Admissions for the School of Engineering. And we do have two of our graduate student ambassadors with us, Juhi and Som, who will also be sharing information with you throughout the presentation. And we will all be available to answer any questions that you may have at the end of the presentation. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just to start off with some brief general information about the George Washington University. So GW was founded in 1821 by an act of Congress. We currently have about 25,000 students studying at the George Washington University. About 10,000 of those students are studying bachelor degree programs, and about 15,000 students are studying at the graduate level. So we are predominantly a graduate institution. The main campus is located in the Foggy Bottom neighborhood of Washington, D.C., and it's right in the heart of downtown Washington, D.C. We are located about 4 blocks away from the White House, 2 blocks away from large international organizations such as the World Bank and the IMF, 2 blocks away from the Department of State. So we are very much centrally located in a 6x6 block radius campus right in the heart of our nation's capital. We also do have 2 other campuses, though. We have a smaller residential campus where some of our undergraduates have some residence halls and where we have some sporting fields. That's located in the northern Georgetown part of the city. That is accessible by a shuttle, a 10-minute shuttle ride from the main campus. And then we also have our Virginia Science and Technology campus, which is actually located about 40 minutes outside of Washington, D.C., closer to Dulles International Airport, and it's where we have some of our larger research laboratories and some other research facilities. Next slide, please. So some specific information about the School of Engineering and Applied Science. We are a pretty large research institution located right in the heart of Washington, D.C. We have more than 90 tenured and tenure-track faculty members with over 11 research centers and institutes with 55 research facilities and laboratories expanding in 30 different fields. We provide bachelor's, master's, graduate certificate, as well as PhD and Doctor of Engineering programs. We have 6 different academic departments, including biomedical engineering, civil and environmental engineering, computer science, electrical and computer engineering, engineering management and systems engineering, and mechanical and aerospace engineering. Next slide, please. We offer master's level degrees in the fields listed below. I would like to point out that all of these are Masters of Science degrees, except for the Regulatory Biomedical Engineering degree. That is specifically a Master's of Engineering, and it's the only Masters of Engineering program that we do offer. Everything else is a Masters of Science program that range between 10 to 12 courses total, and all of our master's degree programs are thesis optional, meaning you can choose to write a thesis in your final year of the program, or you could just continue on with regular coursework. That is up to you to decide. Next slide, please. We also offer PhDs in the programs listed below. Typically, students who are entering a PhD degree already have a master's degree, but we do have some students that participate in the direct entry option and directly enter the PhD program from their bachelor's degree program. So typically, though, our PhD programs range anywhere between 3 to 5 years in length, again, depending on if you are coming in with a master's degree or not, and also depending on your research area and how long it will take you to defend and also write and defend your dissertation. Next slide, please. So we wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit specifically about how students participate in research, just students in general at the School of Engineering and Applied Science, as well as specifically highlighting how our graduate students can participate. So to start off with, the George Washington University does provide broad level support for student research, and specifically at the School of Engineering and Applied Science, we have a lot of different opportunities and ways that students actually starting in high school start to have some research interaction with our school. We host a couple special programs with some of the high schools in the area where we bring students into our labs and they learn about the different programs and they do research. We have some special summer programs as well. We also have a lot of undergraduates that participate in research specifically with faculty members, and we've won recently some relatively new grants that really do focus on providing funding and support for undergraduate students to participate in research activities. But when we get to the master's and doctoral level students, again, GW, we are a very large research institution. And so a lot of the research that's being done is being facilitated by our faculty with the assistance of our graduate students. So we have unique opportunities for master level students. Like I said, it is possible for you to participate in a research-oriented master's level experience. It's not required. Again, you can choose whether or not you want to write a thesis or not. But our doctoral students, and we even have postdoctoral students that are working in our labs on a regular basis and interacting directly with our faculty members. Next slide, please. So just again, to kind of a brief overview, if the students studying at the bachelor's degree level have opportunities for independent study, as well as a pretty large senior capstone design project. Again, students at the master's level can choose to do their master's thesis, which would be research oriented, but there's also a lot of students that are doing independent research that's not necessarily related to their thesis option. So, and we'll hear from one of our graduate ambassadors in a few minutes about how students can go about navigating some of those research opportunities that might just be sparking your interest or an area that you're interested in, but don't necessarily want to write a full thesis about. And then our doctoral students, our PhD students, they have the opportunity to be funded to participate in research through the graduate research assistantship position. We also have graduate teaching assistantship positions. And typically, like I said, it will take students about 3 to 5 years to complete the PhD program, where the majority of that time is spent doing research directly with their faculty advisor and their research team. So there are lots of mechanisms for students to participate in research, but we get typically lots of questions about students about how do you actually go about identifying those research opportunities and being connected with those research opportunities. So all students are assigned an academic advisor who is a faculty member in their department, and it's very important that our students utilize all of the resources that we provide for our students to help them identify research opportunities. But your faculty advisor is really one of those key people who can assist you with identifying even research that they might be doing, but if not what they're doing, what some of the other faculty members are doing in the department that kind of meet your interests. So the faculty advisor is a crucial key kind of relationship that students need to build if they are interested in participating in research, and meeting with their advisor, sharing with them the things that they are interested in doing research about is early on in their master's degree program is essential and kind of a critical piece. And it's not necessarily that students can only work with their faculty advisor. They are free to approach any faculty that work in the School of Engineering, and they are encouraged to reach out directly to other faculty members to discuss areas or possible projects that might be based on mutual interest. It's also possible that you will be taking a class with a faculty member in an area that you weren't necessarily interested in prior to taking the class. And then after taking the class and becoming very interested in that topic and doing well, it's a good way for faculty members to identify potential future research assistants or teaching assistants. So if you are doing really well in a class and it's an area that you're very interested in, it might be possible for that faculty member to reach out to you after the class or during the class to see if you would be interested in possibly joining their research team or signing on to be a teaching assistant in the next year or the next semester. So really what's really important are these relationships. And if you really do want to participate in any kind of research experience during your graduate program, it is going to be up to the student to really be motivated and reach out to all of the faculty members and really utilize the resources that the university provides the students in order to identify and participate in that research interest. Next slide, please. So just to share a little bit specifically about some of the collaborators and sponsors that the George Washington University has, and specifically the School of Engineering. So we do offer a wide variety of research projects and collaborations, and some of these examples are listed here. So working under a National Science Foundation career grant, Dr. Palmer in our computer science department studies how to make computer operating systems essentially self-repairing. Dr. Zhang from our mechanical and aerospace engineering department received a prestigious National Institute of Health Directors New Innovation Award for her work, which aims to find a solution for treating large tissue defects in patients. We also have Dr. Shane Farber from our Engineering Management and Systems Engineering Department, who works with NASA to develop new R&D evaluation metrics to identify institutional levels levers to encourage innovation. We have Dr. Bardet and Dr. Bellaris from our mechanical and aerospace engineering program that use our GWU's earthquake simulator to simulate the fluid flow in a nuclear reactor in order to understand and refine the safety limits of a reactor, specifically on a project for the Department of Energy. And finally, we have Dr. Lowe from our biomedical engineering department that works with the National Gallery of Art to digitally peel back layers of paint on some of the world's great art and look beneath the surface to help better understand and conserve these masterpieces. So those are just a handful of the different types of projects and that are happening between GWC's faculty members as well as with collaborators that are located in the Washington, D.C. area. Next slide, please. So also, it's really important that if you want to be able to do research, that the institution that you are studying at has the research environment and the facilities for you to actually conduct that research. So at the School of Engineering and Applied Science, our home base is the Science Engineering Hall, which we'll talk in depth a little bit about in the next slide, but that is where we have research labs as well as core facilities as informal study areas for students. And we have all of our faculty as well as PhD student offices and cubicles in the building. We also have the Gelman Library, which is the main library on campus. We have an additional building on campus called Hugins Hall that has some high performance computing facilities and some other mechanical engineering spaces. And like I mentioned before, we have our Virginia Science and Technology campus, which is located about a 40-minute drive from our downtown DC campus that also is home to some additional research facilities. So specifically though, the the Science and Engineering Hall is home to all of our engineering and computer science degree programs. It was opened in January of 2015 and is one of the largest teaching facilities located in the city. So along with being LEED Gold certified, the building has a Class 100 nanofabrication clean room, a high bay with a strong wall and a strong floor for our structural engineering students to do research in, as well as some high resolution imaging suites. So as you can see, these are some photos actually from the inside of our building. And the building was really developed to foster interdisciplinary research between students, not only in the School of Engineering, but also with students that are studying in our Columbian College of Arts and Sciences, students in the School of Medicine and Health Sciences, as well as our School of Public Health. At the George Washington University, we have over 10 different colleges and schools within the university. So many of them that are STEM focused or have STEM elements have space in the building. So as you can see from these photos, there's lots of windows everywhere, and there's lots of open workspaces. A lot of the walls are also dry erase board walls, so students can write on them while they're studying. And many of the labs, like I said, are surrounded by windows, so you can see into the different laboratories and observe the research that's being done firsthand. Next slide, please. And if you are interested in actually taking an immersive virtual reality tour of the Science and Engineering Hall, we encourage you to visit our website that's located down here. You can actually virtually walk through the building, the different floors of the building. There are different videos in some of the different labs that you can click to see some of the labs and some of the experiments that are happening. And we've also highlighted some of the main areas on our campus that students typically tend to use, such as the library, as well as areas in our student center called the Marvin Center. So I strongly encourage you to take a look at this virtual tour, and you can, like I said, have as much of an in-person experience as you can virtually. Next slide, please. We also wanted to highlight some additional research that GW and the School of Engineering has been doing, specifically given and related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So our GWC's faculty member, Dr. Michael Kadar from our Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering Department, is helping to develop a plasma brush that could help decontaminate protective masks and gloves and other necessary items of PPE for reuse. So Dr. Kadar received a record-setting corporate research agreement in 2017 to expand his research in the area of cold plasma and cancer treatment. And now he hopes to apply this technology to cleanse equipment, surfaces, and small space airflow as medical professionals are battling COVID-19. So just briefly, plasmas are a form of ionized gas, meaning that they contain a portion of charged particles. And these are highly infective and inactivating microbial pathogens. So typically plasmas exist at extremely high temperatures, but cold atmospheric plasma, which Dr. Kadar's research centers are focusing on, they really require only the gases electrons to be at the elevated temperature. So this allows, makes for the plasma safe to use on or even near humans. So he was awarded an NSF Rapid Response Research Grant in April to develop this disinfection system based on cold adapted atmospheric plasma in combination with a rapid detection of contamination on these surfaces. So this is a proposed brush that will be, that our team at GW is developing. And it's expected to be something that can cleanse a surface or an area very quickly by just scanning the surface with this brush. And the technology, though, is still in its early stages, and it is hoping that they'll be able to use this brush specifically. It'll be as effective on COVID-19 as it has been in other types of coronaviruses. So his team is currently waiting right now on some additional assistance and samples of COVID-19 before they can move forward with some of their research in a safe capacity. But we are also, Dr. Kadar is also working with colleagues in the UK, as well as with the institutions in Michigan and in Pennsylvania, and even with our colleagues at the School of Medicine and Health Sciences and the School of Public Health. So they are really looking forward to the next few months will be very critical specifically for this project. But if you are interested in learning a little bit more about some specific COVID-19 related research projects that we are facilitating, along with more information about Dr. Kadar's particular program, I encourage you to visit the website that's listed at the bottom of the page here. We have faculty who are working on projects related to mapping the information spread of COVID-19, 3D printing of PPE, looking into also low-cost scalable filters and point-of-care devices for self-testing projects. Next slide, please. So with that, like I said, I hope it was a brief overview of some of the research that we are doing here at the School of Engineering, but also a little bit more information about how students can be engaged in research. And at this time, we're going to ask one of our graduate ambassadors, Som, to come on and talk specifically a little bit about his experience at the George Washington University. And he just finished his first year in the master's degree program, and he has started to do and started to do a little bit of research. So I will hand it over to you.
Yep. Thanks, Brittany. Can you hear me? Yep. Okay. Good evening, guys. I'll just be talking briefly about the research work which I am doing and how I actually ended up into getting into one of these projects. So the first thing is look for the domain which you're interested in, and I'm pretty sure there's lots of professors who want research students, and it's a two-way street really. They are looking for potential candidates who can take the research forward which they are already doing. So you can visit the website, and once you are there you can just go through all the the list of faculty, and I'm sure they would have a website where would have listed all of their research work they have been working on. And once you target one particular professor, you just have to send him an email, and trust me, it's that easy. They will definitely get back to you, and they will help you in any way possible. So right now, to just give you a brief, about what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to apply machine learning techniques into optical networks. And the professor I've chosen for doing that to work with is a guy named Suresh Subramaniam. To just give an insight of the amazing faculty that we have in GW, this professor has about 6,000 citations. And anyone new to the research, anyone who knows the research field knows that that's a lot of work which he has been doing over the years. And that is the experience which I have had. I mean, it has been really easy for me to navigate and talk to people, and you just have to talk to the professors, and they will definitely get back to you with the opportunities which they have. And if you impress them enough, then they will definitely hire you as a research graduate for like full time, and then you can get paid for doing your research work. So that's kind of the best part of doing research. There's just lots of scope for that. Okay, so that's my experience regarding research. I mean, you can come here and then decide if you want to get into research, or if you want to do something else. I was not predetermined that I wanted to get into research before coming to GW, but after coming here, it has completely changed my mind, and now I just want to work on this. So that has been my amazing experience at GW, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you, Som. Hi, everybody. So like Brittany said earlier, my name is Kat Hugins. So I am the Assistant Director of International Graduate Admissions, and I'm going to take over the PowerPoint for a little bit, and I'm going to talk to you more about the actual process of applying to GW and the documents that you are required to submit and everything regarding that nature. So first, I'd just like to let all of you know that for anybody who's attending today's webinar, you can get your application fee waived if you choose to apply to GW in the future. At the end of the application, simply use the code GenNextAug20webinar. You can type that into the text box to request your fee waiver, and our office will go in and manually waive that requirement, so you don't need to submit a fee waiver. And again, it's right there on the slide. If you have any questions or you forget what it is later, you can always email us at engineering@GWU, and we'll provide that information for you. So to start, you'll obviously create an account on our website, which is right there listed. But to talk a little bit about the documents that you're required to submit, we do require test scores for English language, proof of English language proficiency, and you can do that through submitting TOEFL, IELTS, Duolingo. We have a list of what those tests are that we accept in our office and on our website. But for your record and for your reference, the TOEFL minimum is 80, while the IELTS minimum is 6.0. And overall, unless you're applying to our engineering management and systems engineering program or our data analytics program, in which case the TOEFL minimum is 100 and the IELTS minimum is 7.0 overall. We do require the GRE typically And if you are applying to PhD for the future, we do still require the GRE, but we are making the GRE optional for spring 2021 master's level applicants. So if you are planning on applying to GW and you're considering applying for spring 2021, you are not required to submit the GRE. However, if you do decide that you want to apply later or you're applying for a PhD, or you got great test scores and you want to share them with us, you're free to do so. And typically, while we don't have a required minimum for the GRE, our students who we end up admitting typically score around 80th percentile for quantitative scores or better, and especially if they want to be considered for any funding. But we'll talk more about funding in a little bit. Obviously, our students are required to submit letters of recommendation. If you are a master's level applicant, that means you should request 2 letters of recommendation from former faculty, former employers, anyone who can really speak to you as a student and as a researcher and your work ethic and anything of that nature. And then again, if you're applying for a PhD, we require 3 letters of recommendation. We then require students to submit a statement of purpose. This is typically 250 to 500 words. And I know that students can get a little worried about it and it can seem intimidating. Don't worry, I wrote my own statement of purpose and I understand how nerve-wracking it can be. But this is really an opportunity for you to talk about why you're interested in GW specifically and how you believe that GW as an institution in the School of Engineering will help you in your field of research, in your field of study. And it's a way for you to just really identify and let us know as to how you see Cs as a part of your future. You can talk about your previous experience in your undergraduate program or your past graduate program and really talk to why you think GW is the right fit for you. And then obviously you need to submit a copy of your resume or CV so that we can get a sense of your past work or research experience and your education and everything, along with your unofficial transcripts. We do not require official transcripts at the point of application. You can simply upload scanned copies of all of your individual semester mark sheets and upload those directly to your application. Official transcripts are not required unless you are actually admitted and then choose to enroll at GW. And then just for you all to be aware, in case you're considering applying for GW, specifically for the School of Engineering and Applied Science, our spring deadline, so for spring 2021, the deadline is September 1st, 2020. So you've got a little under a month if you want to apply for that semester. And then obviously our fall deadline is January 15th, 2021. So if you're interested in next fall 2021, the deadline is January 15th, which gives you the rest of the fall to really get all of your materials in order. But now I want to talk to you a little bit about the opportunities for funding your graduate education. The School of Engineering and Applied Science offers merit-based funding opportunities for master's and doctoral students. In addition, so at the master's level, merit scholarships are really how you're going to be offered funding opportunities. That means that we're going to be looking at your past academic record, at your professor recommendations, at your overall holistic record, and really take you into account in our application pool. And typically these awards are, a 25 to 50% tuition discount that's going to be solely related to the tuition discount. It does not include, funding for living expenses or anything of that sort. But it is a great opportunity, and the great thing about GW is there is no separate full application that you need to fill out to be considered for these merit awards. When you're filling out the application for Cs, there's simply a question that will say, do you want to be considered for funding? And you can simply check that box off and say yes. And then when we're reviewing your application for admission, we will also review your application for funding. But then at the doctoral level, there are some other opportunities for funding in the form of a teaching assistantship or research assistantship. These typically include 18 credit hours of tuition per academic year, along with a monthly stipend for living expenses. But these are, decided at the faculty level and are dependent on the research availability, on the need that the department has at that very moment, at the funding opportunities that the department has available to them at that time. So it's very dependent on what's going on at the time that you're applying. So, and again, it's made at the faculty level. So while master's applicants, your funding review will be done by my office at the Office of Graduate Admissions. If you're applying for a doctoral degree, the faculty in your actual area of study will be reviewing you and taking into consideration what opportunities they might have for you. But there's also obviously funding opportunities outside of Cs. You don't need to only depend on our office or our university to provide funding. And our website does have those options listed, and we can provide more information about that later, but that funding can include specific grants that you might qualify for, or other opportunities for if you're currently working and maybe your employment offers graduate funding or anything of that nature. So there are definitely different ways to fund your graduate education. And now I want to talk to you a little bit about our C's graduate student resources. So as Brittany mentioned earlier, all graduate students at C's are assigned a faculty academic advisor, along with a professional advisor who really helps you with the logistics of being a graduate student at C's. So if you ever have any questions about what forms you need to fill out, or how do you apply to graduate, or anything of that nature, your professional advisors are really going to be the person who can help you with that, while your faculty advisors are going to be the people who can talk to you about the content of the coursework that you're considering, or the research opportunities that are available at C's, or anything specifically related to your actual area of study. For our international student population, GW also has the International Services Office, where you will again have another advisor who will really work with you to make sure that you're staying in your F1 visa status and meeting all of the necessary regulations that you have to comply with throughout your time at GW. You also have access to our Campus Student Health Services Center and our writing tutors through the GW Writing Center. And again, Brittany mentioned our Gelman Library, but you will again have access to all of our GW libraries on campus, but also to our books and articles from the library and other local DC universities. You can access some of those through our online art websites that the library gives you access to. And again, we have all these different resources available to you so that we can support you in your academic endeavors and your time as a student at GW. So I'm sure some of you are curious to talk about housing potentially in the DC area. So while GW does not have residence halls or housing on campus for graduate students, many GW graduate students do live in apartment buildings located just 1 to 2 blocks away from campus. So some of those are even technically located on campus, but are owned and operated by a private company. GW has the Off-Campus Student Affairs Office, which provides students with lots of resources for finding off-campus housing, including a guide to living off-campus. And that guide includes an explanation of the different neighborhoods in DC and the surrounding Virginia and Maryland areas. Something to note is that Washington, DC does have a metro system that's very clean and primarily used during commuting hours. There is a metro stop on the Foggy Bottom campus, so it is possible for students to live outside of the downtown DC area in neighborhoods in Northern Virginia and Maryland and still take the metro to campus every day. That's what I do typically during the year. I live in Northern Virginia and I commute on the metro directly into the city. Obviously, today I'm talking to you from my house, so it's very different right now, but that is typically what occurs. There are also very many public bus lines and local bicycle shares that are affordable options for moving around the city. And DC is also just a very residential friendly city, and it's a walker friendly city. So you don't feel like you need to have access to a car if you're considering moving into the DC area. And if you have any questions regarding housing, I'm sure our graduate ambassadors would be happy to answer with their experiences at the end of the presentation. So you can keep those questions and maybe type them into the question and answer box towards the end of the presentation if you want to learn more about what they experienced. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about the W. Scott Amy Career Services Center, which provides students with career development events, workshops, and other professional services for current C's graduate students and alumni. These services can include career guidance with a career coach, resume building, cover letter assistance, LinkedIn profile building, job market information, and professional development curriculum. So if you're struggling with how to formulate your resume to really make you stand out as a candidate in a job application, our career services team will work with you and go through your resume and assist you in really structuring that and making you stand out. Students are encouraged to start engaging with and attending workshops and events hosted by the Career Services Center during their very first semester in the program. Don't feel like you only need to access them when you're actively applying for jobs or anything. They're there to support you in your entire academic endeavor at GW and to really support you throughout while you're considering, do you want to do an internship? How do you apply for an internship? What about careers after graduation? They're there for the entire length of your program, not just in whenever you're actively looking for a job. And we've included their contact information below and their website, so feel free to check that stuff out and see if there's anything more relevant to you. So Brittany mentioned a little bit about Dr. Kadar and our mechanical and engineering research, so I wanted to maybe highlight those opportunities that our mechanical and aerospace engineering students have had in pursuing work outside of the university. So a lot of our students obviously do research in aerospace engineering and design and manufacturing of mechanical and aerospace systems. They go on to do work in mechatronics and robotics and controls. So of our mechanical and aerospace engineering students at the graduate level, 44% of our C's graduate students earned a salary of $100,000 or more after graduation, and 92% of our C's MAE students were satisfied with the career programs and services, and they were enrolled or employed within 6 months of graduation. And some of them go on to be project engineers or mechanical engineers at these types of employers: Clark Construction, Lockheed Martin, the US Air Force. And so this is just a sample, again, of what our mechanical and aerospace engineering students have gone on to do after graduation. And this is taken from one of the career resource guides that our Career Services Office offers for each program of study. So if you want, you can go to their website and research and find your program of study that you're interested in. So if you're interested in computer science or, electrical engineering or data analytics, the Career Services Office is going to have this document prepared to share that kind of information for you, to let you know as to what research areas students have pursued, who's employed our graduates, and what types of jobs have they pursued. So this is just a sampling for our MAE, any student who's interested in that, but we do provide this information for every area of study. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, I'm sure you're interested, our internships and work experience opportunities, specifically for a lot of our students. So all competitive universities in the United States will offer career services to their students. We've talked a little bit about our W. Scott Amy Center. And our career services advisors will help you to prepare for that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, if you're unaware, for our foreign students on an F1 visa, to talk about what your opportunities are and what you're eligible for. So if you're not familiar, F1 students are eligible for CPT, which is known as curricular practical training, during their program. This is typically after you have been located in the United States studying at GW for 1 academic year. So if you start in fall 2021, you would be eligible for CPT during the following summer if you maintain your F1 status throughout the entire academic year, so fall and spring 2021 and 2022. And then OPT is our optional practical training, which means you are eligible for employment after you graduate. So once you graduate, you can work with our ISO advisors to apply for OPT and find a career that will hire you post-graduation. Both OPT and CPT, whatever internship or job opportunity that you're pursuing, does need to be related to your field of study. So as long as you can show that your employment will do that, the ISO will help you to apply for this and make sure that you're maintaining your F1 status. And then the great thing about the School of Engineering and Applied Science is that all of our programs are eligible for the OPT STEM extension, which is an additional 24 months for STEM fields. So while OPT for every F1 student in the US is eligible for 1 year for 12 months of employment in the US, students who can apply for the OPT STEM extension can receive an additional 24 months, meaning that anyone who is getting the OPT STEM extension can work for up to 36 months in the United States after they've graduated. And that gives you more time to build your resume and build your research skills and your tools and really make you a strong candidate for any future careers that you might have and really develop those relationships. And our Career Services Office is there to help you connect with our alumni, both locally in the DC area and nationally across the United States. And then also, yes, globally, we have a very wide alumni network. And just for you all to know, in 2019, of our C's graduates, there were 514 participating in CPT and OPT while on an I-20 with GWC. So that's just, we're very familiar with this process. We help a lot of our students through it. And we're there to offer that experience for you if you choose to come to GW. And now I'm going to pass it off to our graduate ambassador, Juhi, who's going to talk a little bit about her experience working with our Career Services Office and getting their assistance in looking for internships.
Hi, Kat, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm Juhi. I'm a graduate student at Computer Science Department at GWU. So in terms of internship opportunities, like Kat mentioned, we have career services which really help us out with everything. Like you can go to them with your resume and they guide you and they give you like a one-on-one personal feedback and they tell you how you need to present yourself as a student to the industry out there. And they also have these sample resumes on their website, which provide you with the guidelines as to how you should build your resume and what you should focus on. And if you're looking for research, then research. And if you have work experience, then you can mention that as well. And they also provide you with like mock interviews. So if you're kind of skeptical with presenting yourself or going for an interview, you can book an appointment with them and have a mock interview session with them, and they'll give you a feedback on what you should work on or where you've been really good at. And GW also has many career fairs that they hold. So all the companies come and they showcase themselves, and you get to know a lot about their opportunities. Like hundreds of companies come and they are like every semester you have an opportunity to interact with these companies, and they tell you about how you can apply and where to apply. And GW is also associated with Handshake. So all the companies that are looking for GW specific students, you can go and apply for internships on Handshake as well. And of course, LinkedIn and all the other websites are also available. So I guess, yeah, that's pretty much how it works with internships.
Juhi, would you mind just sharing a little bit specifically about your experience identifying an internship for the summer and kind of how you worked specifically with the career services team for that interview assistance?
Sure, Brittany. When I started off my process, it was around November or December that when I started looking for internship opportunities, and the first thing I did was I got my resume done. So I booked an appointment with the career services, and they told me that okay, I need to update my resume in terms of highlighting that I'm a student. So I put up all the student and GW related, course related work on top of my resume, and then shifted my experience at the bottom because I was applying as a student. So they helped me make my resume in that format, and they told me what I should highlight on and how I should make my resume look like what I have done and what are my contributions in each and every project that I had done. And after that I took their feedback and made all the changes and went back to them again, and took their feedback on how it was, like if it was better or not. And even with cover letters, they really helped me out and told me how to make it specific for every job, for every company that I was applying to. And after that I came back and I asked them to like help me out with the mock interviews. And there's also another website that they mentioned that I could go and have a virtual interview session with the system, and I could choose my own questions for the behavioral interviews. And they guided me through how I should go and like choose my questions and all of that. And after that, even with the technical questions, I think like there are a lot of these websites that they guided me with, where you can actually choose what kind of domain you're looking for, and you can go through your resume and answer each of those questions related to your domain. And after that I went and applied everywhere, and then got like feedback. And even after I had given interviews with a few companies, I took that experience and I went back to the career services, and they told me that, oh, this is where you could have done better, or yeah, this was a good point. So that has been my experience. And I think by the end of May, or like if like by May, you should know if you're gonna be doing a summer internship or not. But I think the by if you start off by November and if you apply through February, you should be pretty good. You would get a lot of experience. And my advice would be that you start applying and you just go and give as many interviews as you can, so that each interview you learn a lot from each interview, and every company is looking for something specific to their domain, and you never know in which company you fit. So that would be my advice, that you can just start applying and go with the flow.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That was awesome. I don't think, students will have any more questions other than the questions in the Q&A box, because everything was covered so fabulously. Thank you once again. But before moving on to the questions, we are, for all of you who joined in late, we are relaunching our poll questions. So please take a second to answer those questions, and then we'll go on to the questions, please.
And Sheila, while people are answering the poll, I'll just kind of give a brief update about what the current situation at GW is. I think there might be, if there are any, like I said, prospective applicants, or just anyone in general who's kind of curious as to what is happening in the Washington, D.C. area. Obviously, like Kat said before, we did go remote, and all classes in the spring semester and summer did transition online in mid-March. So, and it was just announced about a week and a half ago, or almost 2 weeks ago now, that for the fall 2020 semester, all of our undergraduate programs and most of the graduate programs would be online for the fall semester. And so we had already been preparing for a hybrid mode of instruction for the fall semester that would allow for predominantly online instruction, but also with a little bit of in-person interaction. We started preparing for that at the School of Engineering in April in anticipation that we most likely would not be able to have as many students on campus given the COVID-19 pandemic. But that was confirmed about, like I said, 2 weeks ago. So we are continuing, though, to fully function remotely at all of the student services, as well as our advising team, all of our faculty members, all of our career services and services are all continuing to happen virtually. And we are allowing our incoming master's level students the opportunity to start their program with us online by taking 1 or 2 or even 3 courses if they'd like to online for the fall semester, with the intention and the hope that they'll be able to join us in person for the spring semester. And we are putting plans in place for possible remote options for the spring semester right now, just so we are prepared depending on how things go with the pandemic. So we are, like Kat said, we are all coming to you today from our homes. Some of us have gone to different parts of the East Coast. But like I said, we were hoping to be able to have more students on campus, but students that are doing research are allowed to be on campus. So there is still a lot of research happening, and there are ways that our students are receiving permission to actually physically be on campus if they need to. But all of the courses that students will be engaged in at the graduate level for the School of Engineering for the fall semester will be online.
Thank you, Brittany. So let's go over the questions. I know most of the questions here were covered during your session, but then I think students want to hear that again. So here's our first question. What kind of professional development programs do graduate students receive?
Yeah, so Kat mentioned this. A lot of this comes through the W. Scott Amy Career Services Center, and I put the link to the website on the chat box. So you can log in and see the types of programming that they offer. We typically have invite employers to come to campus to visit with students. Like Juhi said, there is the career fairs that we facilitate, as well as the specialized programming and workshops that we do offer. And even as we are going to be completely online in the fall, our career services team is continuing to work on a very robust programming effort for the fall semester. So they'll still be doing a lot of engagement and interaction with employers, all done virtually, but we'll still be connecting our students and providing them with workshops related to professional development and building and preparing them for the career search.
Thank you, Brittany. Next question is about scholarship. Are international students considered for scholarships over domestic students? Is there a separate application to apply to assistantships and or scholarships?
Kat, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, yes, I can definitely take this one. So like I mentioned earlier, there is no separate application. There's simply a question on our GW application that asks if you want to be considered for funding, and it gives you a yes or no answer. And if you say yes, when your application is being reviewed for admission, we will also review you for funding. So there is no separate application, and our international students are considered for the same funding that our domestic students are considered for. So obviously, like I mentioned, there are also other funding resources outside of GW, and there might be special grants or opportunities out there for international students specifically. But at GWCs, the scholarships and the assistantships that we offer are available to both domestic and international, and there is no separate application. But as I did mention, at the master's level, your funding opportunities will be reviewed by our office at the Office of Graduate Admissions, and we'll be reviewing you based solely on merit and our application pool. But at the doctoral level, you'll be reviewed by the faculty, and that will be highly dependent on the actual research opportunities that they have available at that point in time and the needs that they have for students. So it's highly dependent on a lot of various factors while they consider your strengths as well.
Thank you, Kat. So there is a question about research over here. So is there a research collaboration between departments?
Yes. So what I just did is I put the link to the faculty research page, but there's a variety of departments that do different types of interdisciplinary research. So just for example, our biomedical engineering department works very closely with our electrical and computer engineering department on some specific research activities, but also not just in terms of research, but students who are taking or who are studying in a master's degree program. Say you are in the electrical computer engineering department and you are interested in taking a class that's maybe in the CS department or in the engineering management department. It is possible for students to take classes still within the School of Engineering, but based in different departments. In those classes, you just need to have it approved by your faculty advisor, and those classes will go towards counting towards your graduation requirements. So there is a lot of research that website that I just put up highlights, but you can click and go into each of the departments, and you can see, like some said, each department has a list of all the faculty members and the research areas that they are that they focus on. So you can see early on if those research areas match what you are interested in.
Thank you, Brittany. This is a question about PhD. Are PhD programs funded? How soon should one apply to PhD programs? And is there a fall and spring intake for PhD programs?
Yes, so there is a fall and spring intake for PhD. We do review PhD applicants at both intakes, but most of our PhD students, though, do start with us in the fall semester for a variety of reasons. The main one being, though, that our fiscal year starts in July, and so any new grants or any new funding that's coming through to the departments are allocated first to fall applicants, and then if there are any remaining funding that's available, or if faculty members have then received new grants or projects or funding throughout the fall semester, then they'll be looking to possibly fund students for the spring semester. But our spring semester intake is typically around 5 to 10 PhD students, where our fall semester intake of PhD students is usually close to 50 PhD students each fall semester that start with us. So it really just depends on what kind of funding you are looking for, and if it is funding that's related specifically to a faculty member who has received grants recently or knows that they have a grant coming on down the line, that is where the chances are going to be higher. But generally speaking, most of our PhD students start with us in the fall semester.
There's one more question on the research, so I'll just ask that. How independent is the research for students? Do students work together with the advisors?
I'll take this, and then maybe Som also wants to add anything else, seeing as he actually is a student. But it really depends on if you are just doing independent research that is not tied directly to a project or funding that's being offered from a faculty member. If you are an official research assistant or a teaching assistant, there is the expectation that you will be doing a minimum of 20 hours per week of research. And so that is the expectation. Whether they're doing more than that, that is something that we're not aware of, but generally speaking, and that is in addition to taking your classes and doing your coursework. So it depends on if you are being officially funded to do research, or if you are doing research voluntarily just because you are interested in that. That is where it will vary. It could be that you can devote less time to that research, or maybe even more time to that research, depending upon who it is. But it's really going to be based on the individual student, and like I said, what type of research it is that they are actually participating in, and if they are actually receiving funds to do that research, or not?
Yeah, Brittany. Yeah, so the thing with research is as Brittany said, it entirely depends on what you are doing. And I think as long as you have satisfied the criteria to, take the courses and then perform well in those courses, shouldn't have any problem regarding the, time constraints or anything of that sort.
Okay, and is there a distance learning option for research scholars?
Not so. It depends on. I mean, right now there's a distance learning option for everyone. But specifically speaking, for our postdoctoral students as well as our doctoral students who are starting with us, or our continuing students, if they are outside of the US or they're not able to be in the DC area, we are working with them. But typically speaking, not during these COVID times, we don't offer a lot of distance learning specifically based on research or for postdocs.
Thank you, Brittany. I think this is a question for Kat. It involves GRE scores and requirements. Since most of the universities have waived off GRE requirements, so is it the same with GW as well? I mean, have you waived off GRE?
Yeah, I can definitely answer that. So I mentioned it earlier, but I'll repeat it here just in case anyone joined later. GWC, so the School of Engineering and Applied Science, has waived the GRE for master's applications for spring 2021. So if you are applying to GW for the spring semester and you're applying for a master's program, we have waived the GRE. Our faculty did review the option of waiving it and decided that they still required it for the doctoral applications for spring 2021. And it's much too early for us to be making a decision about any future semesters for fall or in the future. So
yeah,
it's waived for now for spring for masters.
Yeah, we hope to be, we'll hope to know by September 1st whether or not we will be waiving the GRE for the fall 2020 semester. So again, our deadline to apply for fall 2020 is not until January 15th. So students will, like I said, will be able to notify students by the end of August or by early September whether or not that we will be requiring the GRE. But it is something that a lot of institutions, especially institutions that are within our market basket, so institutions that our applicants are also applying to, still are requiring the GRE. So it's something that even if GW isn't, it doesn't mean that other institutions have waived that requirement just yet. So it's important to look at each institution that you are considering applying to.
And does your university also require a credential evaluation? Is that a requirement for international students?
Oh, I can answer that. No, we do not require an external international credential evaluation for any of our students. All of our credential evaluations are completed in-house by our admissions office, and we'll review your academic transcripts ourselves and do the credential evaluation ourselves. You do not need to pay for an external evaluation. And typically, if students do submit external evaluations, we just add those as an additional notes. They are not really taken into consideration. We'll look at them, but you are not required to submit them. We do not ask for them. That's specific to the School of Engineering and Applied Science. So if you're applying to another program at GW in a different college, they might have different requirements. So we're just speaking to C's right now.
Have you heard of anything, or do you have any idea about when the consulate will resume operation? Because visa appointments have been canceled as of now, and anything that you can let the students know about the consulate, if you have any information.
Yeah, I can definitely say that we are monitoring the situation as closely as our students are. Obviously, we have a lot of students who are impacted by this right now, who we're planning on coming for fall 2020. Obviously, it's up to the discretion of the individual U.S. embassies and consulates as to their capabilities and to operate functionally. It is not something that the State Department is publishing publicly at all times, unfortunately. We have heard from some students in different areas of the world that their embassies are opening while others are still remaining closed. It's entirely dependent, again, on the workforce that the embassy currently has access to, because a lot of staff obviously had to leave and return to the United States earlier in the spring. And so they might not have their full staffs, which is why they're limiting those opportunities at this moment. We can only say that we encourage you to monitor your local U.S. Embassy or consulate. Their website will provide the most up-to-date information at all times. And you can reach out to them directly with any questions about when they think they might be reopening. But unfortunately, we don't have any more information than our students do. We are monitoring it as everyone else is at this point in time.
Thank you, Catherine. This is a question for Som and Juhi. What do you think of the graduate CS program generally and specifically? Either one of you.
Okay, I'll take that. So the GW graduate program is really good. We have a lot of professors who are they concentrate in a particular domain and they are very good at it. And so CS program not only has the opportunity to choose between CS specific courses, but they also let you take a few courses in data science if you're interested, and there's also a cyber security certification also that is being provided by CS. So and also the CS coursework is pretty good. Like it is related. They teach you everything which is related to the industry right now, and specifically with terms of research, I think Som can tell more about that. But the course is very much up to the mark and with the recent trends.
And yeah, I would also like to highlight on the projects that we are assigned, in various courses. Those projects really help you in terms of securing a job, because that is the talking point when it comes to the interviews and stuff. So they have designed the projects and all of the coursework, keeping the industry setting in their mind and what a student would need. For example, I had taken a course on web development. So they actually make you develop a website from scratch so that you understand what it takes and, the whole process as such. So the projects are really good, is what I would like to highlight.
Great, thank you, Som and Juhi. But Som, this is a question for you. What is the student community like at the campus, and do many of you work in addition to taking classes and conducting research?
Yeah, so there's a huge student community out here. You will probably meet all of them once you're in the campus, and we do work part-time. If that's I think that was the question, right? So we
Yes.
do work part-time, and we do work on our course subjects along with the research which we are doing. So we balance out all of the three things, and yeah, that's a lot of work, but yeah, so once you are here, you will find your way through it.
Great. Any tips you would like to give a prospective applicant? Anything that a student should keep in mind while applying to GW in particular?
Yeah, so one advice which I would like to give everyone is map your courses and talk to your faculty advisor once you're here, because that really shapes in what direction that you want to go. If for example, if you want to do your if you want to specialize in machine learning, then choose your courses so that all of it is shaped towards what you're trying to achieve. And once you talk to your faculty advisor, you will be very clear about it. And Juhi, if you want to add something.
Yeah, so while you're applying to GW, I would suggest that go on the website. If it's specific to CS, then go on the CS website. Look at what are the courses that are being offered and read up, like if it aligns with your interest, interests. And you can also go and see what all the professors are doing, what research they are doing, their papers, read up about their publications, and you can mention that in your SOP, so that actually helps with your application being picked out.
Do you guys have any experiences with regard to educational loan? Anything that you want to share with our students?
Well, I mean, I think that Kat can also maybe just answer a little bit about this. And we do accept loan documentation for students to issue I-20 forms. And typically our I-20 process, and that process happens after a student has been admitted. We do not require students to submit financial documentation or loan documentation through the application process. It's not until they have been deemed admissible to the institution, and at that point, Kat will then work with them to get their documents for their I-20 form created. And Kat, do you have any other additional information about those documents, or specifically student loan documentation?
Yeah, like Britt said, obviously we will accept loan documentation from our students. If the loan documentation is in the student's name, our office will treat that as self-funding. And if the loan documentation is in a family member's name, we'll treat it as family funding. And that just means you would need to get additional signatures from your family members, verifying that they're taking this loan out for you to fund your education. We do have students who use loan providers like Education Paris or Prodigy Finance. That information is readily available on the internet. And if you want to email us at engineering@gwu.edu, we can provide you with some of those links.
There's a question about robotic studies. What's the scope for robotic studies for masters?
We have robotics as kind of an area of focus within two of the departments, one in computer science, but also there's a little bit in the mechanical and aerospace engineering program. And so in specific though, we can follow up. And also if you go to our website, I put the MS computer science link for the admissions requirements, which from there you can actually link to the exact CS department website to see, but there also is the list of the courses that are located. There's a PDF that you can download so you can see which of the courses that we offer are within robotics of the area of interest.
Thank you, Brittany. And one last question, fee structure for Masters in Computer Science. What's the fee structure?
Yeah, so actually our fee structure is the same for all of our master's level students. So, and the fee structure in the United States for all graduate studies is also typically the same. So students are paying by per credit, 1 credit hour. And so there's a tuition rate based on per credit. One course is typically 3 credit hours. So you will look and see some MS programs are a total of 30 credit hours. So that means that you're taking 10 courses, and some are 33 and some are 36. So you pay your tuition based on the number of credits that you are registered for each semester. So you pay your tuition at the beginning of each semester. So as a F1 student, you are required to be enrolled in a full-time course load, which at GW for graduate students, that's 9 credit hours. So you must be taking 3 courses at 3 credit hours each, and you are billed for the number of credits that you are registered to take at the beginning of each semester. So that is how, like I said, the credit structure in the US is the same at almost all institutions. So, and again, you'll be paying you do not pay your tuition up front, you pay at the beginning of each semester.
Thank you, Britt. So with that, we've come to the end of the session. There are no more questions. So before we wrap up, do you have any last minute advice to our students?
Anything
that you want to advise our students about?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I just saw we had another question pop up in that I was reading.
Okay.
No, I mean, I think just by logging into this session with us today, start early, start planning early. And we are talking with all students. You need to have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, especially just given the current situation that's happening right now and the uncertainties that are related to COVID-19 and how the differences are in each country. It's good to start planning early and then make sure you have a backup plan and know that you might have to put that in place depending on what the situation is right now and what the situation might be in the future, because things are changing very quickly. So just stay on top of and try to stay in tune and really do reach out to the institutions that you are interested in applying to and stay connected to them. Read the emails. We are trying to keep students informed, our prospective students as well as our current students and our applicants informed, because things are changing. So please, we do email you. I'm sure you're getting lots and lots of emails every day, but we're only trying to email you with really important things. So make sure you are reaching out to those institutions and really staying on top of the situation and planning, like I said, for a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C. But this will pass, and we do really look forward to welcoming back our current students, also welcoming our new students in DC, because we do know that one of the main reasons why students choose to study at the George Washington University is because of our very, very unique location and the connections that you have and the network that you are introduced to by studying in the heart of our nation's capital. And so we are trying to emulate that environment as much as we can and virtually, just given the current situation, but we will continue to do so virtually as well as soon as we can also do so in person with all of our students and our entire GWU community. So thank you again. Please feel free to email us at engineering. And again, if you do decide to apply, we'll be happy to waive the application fee for you. So if you do forget about it, just feel free to shoot us an email and say, either reach out to Gen X or reach out to us and say, I was on that Gen X webinar in August, and we'll be happy to send you that application fee waiver code.
Sorry, Brittany, our students don't want to let go of you. Let's answer that one last question.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. I mean, so right now, actually, typically every year the tuition rate does increase. And this year we actually decided that GWU announced a week ago that we would not be increasing tuition as we were scheduled to do so. And so I believe, Kat, is it $1,960 per credit now? Back to the old.
I believe
yes.
That is what credit rate is.
Yes. So that is, like I said, per credit. So times that by 9, and that would typically be around what your minimum tuition bill would be for each semester. That is also before taking out any possible scholarship. So like Kat mentioned, all of our scholarships at the master's degree level are now tuition discounts. So there would then be, if you are a recipient of one of those, there would then be the tuition discount that would be discounted from your overall tuition bill.
Thank you. Thank you all for providing us with such valuable insights and addressing all our students' questions. It was absolutely delightful to have you all on the panel today. And to all our participants on the webinar, please register on our portal, imfutureready.com, if you haven't done that already. And we have an excellent, well-informed team on ground who will guide you through and help you achieve your dream of studying abroad free of cost. You can also email us at future@GenNextEducation, so don't forget to mark us as your safe sender. And please note down our WhatsApp number so you can receive important updates from us. Thank you once again for joining us on this webinar, and stay tuned for more information from us regarding upcoming webinars. Good day and good evening, guys. Thank you so much.